Welcome. Today I'm going to talk about Module 12 Case Study, Copyright, Computer Regulation Governing Technology by Chadwick Wolf. The first thing I'm going to talk about is Section 1, Information on the School and the Community. Looking at the school, St. Regis School serves students from grades K through 8, approximately 420 students, 2 teachers per grade level, and only 2 SPED teachers. Looking at the community, it's a small rural community about 25 miles away from the next city. There is 2 grocery stores, 1 drugstore, a few other small businesses. It has a very supportive to the school. There is a new principal, and the community likes to do a lot of fundraising and provide funding for new technology and other school needs. Now, when looking at the key players in this case study, there's a school principal, Mr. Sample. It's his 3rd year. He is well liked by the staff and the community members. The librarian / media specialist, Miss Selene. There's a few teachers involved. The main ones, Miss Williams, experienced teacher in the district. Miss Brandon, she's new to St. Regis. She did 3 years of experience at a previous larger school. PTA members, Miss Evans, she is the president. She will volunteer in the library on occasions. Now I'm going to talk to you about the background on what happened at St. Regis. The school bought 20 new computers from different fundraising to place in a computer lab to use by all teachers. School then bought different computer software that was recommended by teachers in the school. All but 3 teachers were using the computer lab on a regular basis. After a few months, several of the teachers went to Miss Lynn, the media specialist, and asked her to make copies of the newly purchased software so that it could be used on computers in their classroom, as well to promote student and adult success and well-being. Miss Lynn and Miss Evans, the PTA president, made several copies of each of the programs and put them on flash drives to pass out to the teachers. Their first copy went to Miss Williams. She was thankful to receive a copy of the program and thanked Miss Lynn for making the copies. The second copy was offered to Miss Brandon. She gratefully declined due to the concern of copyright violations. She expressed her concern to Miss Lynn. Miss Lynn returned and said, "Here at St. Regis, we have to make every penny count for our students." After making no progress with Miss Lynn, Miss Brandon then went and talked to Mr. Sample to express her concerns and to inform him of what was going on. Mr. Sample had no idea that the software was being copied. Mr. Sample went and told Miss Lynn that she needed to collect all of the copies and stop making them. He told her as well that it was a violation of copyright laws and the school and everyone else involved could be sued. Ms. Lynn went on and told Mr. Sample, "Do you really think anyone will know or care about a few copies for classrooms at St. Regis?" Now I'm going to talk about the legal and ethical issues that happened based on the case. First thing, there has been no physical harm done to anyone involved in the case. I would say, though, there has been emotional harm done to Miss Brandon by Miss Lynn's comments. This is shown in the case when Mr. Sample could tell that Miss Brandon was bothered by something that was going on. Looking at the legal issues, violation of the 1976 U.S. Copyright Act by illegally making copies of the copyrighted materials without permission of the publisher. This opens St. Regis School District, the school, and any staff that was involved in making the copies or received the copies if the company finds out. Could possibly been a breach of contract with the software company. Hard to say without knowing what the software is or what was written in the contract. Looking at the ethical issues, Miss Lynn breaking the law and not really caring. Miss Lynn putting herself and others at risk. Based on the information provided in the case study, I would say there has been no discriminatory or constitution harassment in the case. In section 3, I was synthesizing what exactly happened. At St. Regis Elementary School, majority of the staff members are knowingly violating copyright laws by requesting a fellow staff member to make copies of a copyrighted protected software program to be placed on flash drives to allow more access in different areas of the school to increase student use of the latest technology available in the school. Looking at the people again, I'm going to break down who was directly involved and who was indirectly involved in this case. Looking at who was involved directly, the school principal, Mr. Sample, the librarian / media specialist, Miss Lynn. Looking at the teachers, Miss Williams, Miss Brandon, and the teachers that approached Miss Lynn to make the copies. The PTA member, Miss Evans, who is the president. Who was involved indirectly or was unknown of what was going on? All the students in the school, approximately 420 of them, and the school community. No information was provided on the racial demographics of the students or the teachers in this case. Now I'm going to talk about where exactly this case all took place. In the community, once again, it was a small community about 25 miles from the nearest city. And it has approximately 2 grocery stores, 1 drugstore, and a few other small businesses. Very supportive to school, to the new principal, and funding the school needs. Population is unknown. Cultural demographics is also unknown. Looking at information on the school itself, okay, it took place in the library where the flash drives were found. The computer lab, where the new computers and new software are in place legally. Mr. Sample's office. No other physical conditions of the school was given. Digging a little deeper into the school, serves students from grades K through 8, approximately 420 students, 2 teachers per grade level, and only 2 SPED teachers in the school. School educational curriculum, not much information was given, just saying that there was new software to help the students learn and teachers wanted more access to it. No real information was given to say if the school was public or private. In section 5, I'm going to review and prioritize the information. The decision that was made by some of the staff members to violate copyright laws could cost the stakeholders in the community by damaging their reputation and possibly having to pay a major fine. The violation could affect the following individuals: Ms. Lynn and Ms. Evans for making the copies, any teachers that accepted a copy of the flash drive with the software on it. Mr. Sample and the district could be held liable as well. Students could be affected as well, losing school funding to purchase new materials. The legal penalties for copyright infringement, payment of the actual amount or damages and the profits, damages in the range of $200 to $150,000 for each individual involved, payments of all attorney fees and court costs. The infringer could be placed in jail as well. Continuing on with section 5, who else needs to be consulted? I believe the school board, so they know of the possibility of copyright lawsuit that may occur. The superintendent, so he knows as well and can make sure measures are put into place so the situation does not happen again if they're not already in place. What other information is there to know? What does the software and district policy say about copyright issue? This was not talked about in the case study. This is important. If the policy established clear parameters for use of all technology, including computer software and copyright laws, I believe that I have enough information to make a reasonable decision on this case. Now in section 6, I'm going to identify different options and say the possible consequences that may occur. My first option 1, after confronting Ms. Lynn about copyright infringement that was made and copies were told to be collected, there was no follow-up done to make sure the issues was resolved and no further actions were taken. Some of the possible consequences based on this option: all parties involved could possibly be sued by the company. All parties involved could be fired for not following district policies. Staff could realize that they could do whatever they want and not get in trouble. Some staff members might think they are not supported by the administration. The next option I had to choose from, option 2, after confronting Ms. Lynn about the copyright infringement that was made and copies were told to be collected. There was a follow-up to make sure that all of the copies were collected and discarded appropriately, and no other further disciplinary actions were taken. Possible consequences: all parties involved could possibly be sued by the company still. Mr. Sample could lose the trust of staff and community if they see it as a cover-up. Teachers could see the actions being taken as in not having the best interests of the students in mind. Now looking into option 3, after confronting Ms. Lynn about copyright infringement that was made and copies were told to be collected, there was no follow-up to make sure that all the copies were collected and discarded appropriately, and Ms. Lynn was fired and Ms. Evans was asked not to volunteer in the school again. Looking at the possible consequences, it alienates Ms. Evans and or the PTA. Teachers and community members could lose all respect for Mr. Sample. Staff could feel stifled in their creativity in the classroom. Staff may feel unwelcomed and leave school or district. All parties involved could possibly be sued by the company. Mr. Sample could be asked to resign for being too harsh on the employees. In the fourth option I gave, after confronting Ms. Lynn about copyright infringement that was made and copies were told to be collected, there was a follow-up to make sure that all of the copies were collected and discarded appropriately. Ms. Lynn was asked to refresh herself on the district copyright policies and any other reprimand that needs to be placed based on the school policy. Also put together a committee to think about different ways to gather funding to purchase additional copies of wanted software. Some of the possible consequences of option 4: teachers may think no actions were taken against Ms. Lynn. PTA might be upset for being asked for more money. Other teachers may violate copyright laws again. All parties involved could possibly be sued by the company still. And my final option that I stated, option 5, after confronting Ms. Lynn about copyright infringement that was made and copies were told to be collected, there was a follow-up to make sure that all the copies were collected and discarded appropriately. Ms. Lynn was asked to refresh herself on the district copyright policies and any other reprimand that needs to be taken place based on the school policy. Also put together a committee to think about different ways to gather funding to purchase additional copies of wanted software, and put together a mandatory PD on copyright laws. Some of the possible consequences: all parties involved could possibly be sued by the company, as well as I stated last time, the community might be a little upset for having to buy more technology and spend more money. Here in section 7, I'm going to talk about evaluating my options. I'm going to talk about the pros and the cons of each of them. In option 1, where I did nothing, pros: teachers are happy that students are still able to use the programs in any of the classrooms. Cons: there's no control in the school. Further lawsuit may arise, possibility of multiple people getting fired. Looking at option 2, where only collecting the flash drives and no other actions taken, potential lawsuit avoided. Certain staff are happy because they did not get into further trouble. Some of the cons: teachers still might think they run the school and hide their next violation from certain staff members and the principal. Further lawsuit may still arise. Possibility of multiple people getting fired still applies. In option 3, where I collected the flash drives, fired Ms. Lynn, and asked Ms. Evans not to help out in the school, some of the pros: the potential lawsuit could be avoided. Staff sees the action was taken. Some of the cons: Ms. Lynn may file a grievance on the school. The Board of Education and the PTA might not like the extreme measures that were taken. Possibility of retaliation from teachers may occur as well. In option 4, where I collect the flash drive, Ms. Lynn was asked to review the copyright laws and the software committee was put into place. Some pros: the potential lawsuit could be avoided. Staff and the Board of Education sees actions was taken. Software were legally acquired for classrooms. Ms. Lynn is updated on the policies. Any opportunity is in place to get new technology and software. Looking at some cons on option 4. Only a certain population knows the policies. Other teachers may still violate copyright laws. Some teachers may be upset with an extra committee they have to do. And my final option, option 5, where I collected a flash drive, Ms. Lynn reviews copyright law, software committee was put into place, and PT to cover the copyright laws. Some of the pros on this, potential lawsuit avoided. Staff and Board of Education sees the action was taken. Software were legally acquired for the classrooms. All staff is updated on the policies, and an opportunity is in place to get new technology and software. Some of the cons, some teachers may be upset with an extra committee. Some teachers may be upset with a mandatory PD over the copyright laws. In Section 8, choosing the best options, after looking through and reflectively evaluating each of my options, I would select option 5 because it promotes the future success and well-being of all staff and students. This will be done by following up to make sure that all of the copies were collected and distributed appropriately. Ms. Lynn was asked to refresh herself on the district copyright policy and any other reprimand that needs to take place based on the school policy. Also, there will be a committee to think about different ways to gather funding to purchase action or additional copies of wanted software, and a mandatory PD on copyright laws to all staff. By implementing this, it allows the best case scenario to cover all aspects of the situation. It will provide important communication to all stakeholders over copyright laws. Measures are put into place to prevent a similar incident from occurring and remaining compliant with the laws and regulations. Provides a solution to gather more copies of the software legally. Mr. Sample is not overreacting. Teachers see the review, the rules and policies that are in place. Mr. Sample has school's best interests in mind. Also, will also ensure the success and well-being of staff and the students. To implement this option, I will need to do the following steps: collect all legal copies of the software programs, follow the code of conduct and district policies when looking into Ms. Lynn's actions, document necessary findings, contact the school board and superintendent to inform them of the situation and let them know it was taken care of. Fourth thing I would do, put together a committee to look into getting new and more software. Fifthly, mandatory training to cover copyright laws with continuing refreshers, trainings at the start of each school year. In Section 9, I'm going to talk about a little more about implementing my decision. When putting my decision into action, it requires me to consider a number of things. First thing I would need to do is to collect all legal copies of the software. This will help prevent the risk of a lawsuit against the district and school. Also, will show staff members that policies are taken seriously. The second thing, I need to open up an investigation to figure out what all happened, why it happened, and who all was involved. I will also include my assistant principal and a board member to ensure that I am applying the laws and regulations fairly and equally to everyone, and I am not overreacting on anything. This will help me to see if violations was on purpose or was caused by a lack of knowledge or from a lack of training. Also, will allow me to see if there are any other wrongdoings that need to be addressed. Issues letter of recommendation to staff if their involvement warrants one. One that would be a warrant would be Ms. Lynn's involvement. Thirdly, I will contact the school board and superintendent to communicate what is going on and where I am at in my investigation and the findings I have found. The fourth action, I will build a software committee that consists of teachers, PTA members that could volunteer, Miss Lynn, myself as Mr. Sample, and a board member. They will be tasked with doing more. Do we need more copies of the software that was copyrighted? Looking for ways of funding, either federal government or federal grants, fundraisers, or state grants. Find new software and technology to continue promoting students' learning and well-being in our school. And finally, the fifth thing, I would design a PD with the help from Miss Lynn and Miss Brandon that covers copyright laws and school and district policies on copyright. The reason I selected these two is they both want the best of the students, and I also think this will help rebuild a positive work environment for them. In section 10, I'll talk about the PLO 6 and CLO 6.3 and how it correlates with the assignment. When I was reflecting and evaluating the different course of actions that I would take on the stakeholders, I had to stop and ask myself, is this the right course of action to do for the students and staff, making sure that I was still promoting a safe environment, academic success, and well-being of all stakeholders. I also had to make sure that the copyright laws and policies were communicated about to all appropriate school stakeholders. This was done in a training to make sure that all staff members were implementing the laws and policy and regulations on copyright policies. Here are some of the references that I used throughout my presentation over this case study.